Tonight, former Supreme Court Judge Justice Atukuba takes on Supreme Court for acting unconstitutionally and in bad faith on a host of cases, including the controversial James Chachi case.
The James Chachi decision by the Supreme Court is, with all due respect, scandalous, in that the court, in the teeth of the settled maxim, res judicata et non quaeta movere, re-adjudicated the same matter that has been adjudicated upon by the High Court on the merits.
We'll also hear his verdict on the Domelevo case, in which CDD had tried to get his removal reversed after he was forced to proceed on leave. And Top Stories are always brought to you by Vodafone. Well, today we've been hearing from former Supreme Court Judge Justice Atukuba, who has been taking on the Supreme Court for acting unconstitutionally and in bad faith in a host of cases, including the controversial James Chachi case. We'll bring you his views on that pretty shortly. But he also talked extensively about the removal of the former Auditor General Daniel Domelevo, and in that case, as you may recall, after he was asked to proceed on a long leave, the CDD had gone to court to challenge that. Well, the court failed to hear the matter on time, and today the former Supreme Court judge himself has been assessing that. He believes the conduct of the Supreme Court in that matter was unconstitutional.
This trend has continued in very recent times. Thus, in Ghana Center for Democratic Development and 8 others versus Attorney General, as Amegache JSC delivering the judgment of the Supreme Court stated, judgment was delivered in this case on the 21st May 2023, long after Mr. Domelevo had been pushed out of office. Coincidentally, it was on the same day that the Supreme Court also delivered judgment in the case of Professor Kwejo Apiaje-Etua, an northern background, okay, and 7 others, and the Attorney General. In this case, the plaintiffs challenged the constitutionality of the Imposition of Restrictions Act 2020, Act 1012, which was enacted in consequence of the deadly coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. Thank God that is passed. But the developed countries are saying a more serious one will come. They are not God anyway. It can unhappily be said that the Supreme Court acted unconstitutionally and in bad faith when it inordinately delayed in adjudicating the National Media Commission and Attorney General. As on that panel, as I said, but don't blame me, that I was not in charge of listing. When it was listed 3 years later, we promptly, it was in November, we decided it within a month or so. Still, the blame comes from the judiciary, as well as the Domelevo and COVID-19 cases for short. This is because, okay, let me explain this better. I'm saying that it can be said that the Supreme Court sometimes has acted unconstitutionally and in bad faith. And I'm referring to National Media Commission and Attorney General, as well as the Domelevo and COVID-19 cases. I've told you about the national media. In the case of Domelevo, I've told you, judgment came long after the man had left. And the COVID-19, those impositions have had their thorough effect. The COVID-19 itself has passed. Now judgment has come saying that they were unconstitutional. This is because it is the constitutional duty of the Supreme Court to enforce the Constitution forthwith when it is breached. That is the mandatory duty under Article 2(1) of the Constitution. Those days, our judges could speak. Unquote. In the National Media Commission, Domelevo and COVID-19 cases, the Supreme Court failed to suppress the mischiefs of the infringements of the Constitution for an inordinate period of time. Of course, as I said earlier, the delay can come from the panel or is listing for hearing. And we all know who can direct listing of cases in the Supreme Court.
Also on the James Achikwuesin case, he also declared that the Supreme Court's decision on that particular case was scandalous.
The James Achikwuesin's decision by the Supreme Court is, with all due respect, scandalous, in that the court, in the teeth of the settled maxim, res judicata et non quietem movere, re-adjudicated the same matter that has been adjudicated upon by the High Court on the merits. Never seen this type of thing in any judicial system. If the certificate of renunciation is so mandatory and conclusive, why was it not conclusive in its effect to qualify Achikwuesin when he received it dated 26 November 2020, whereas the parliamentary election was held on 7 December 2020?
And just been listening to former Supreme Court judge who has been speaking today at a public lecture detailing his thoughts on the judiciary, on the subject of democracy and the judiciary's contribution to maintaining one. I want to bring in on the subject you just head there on the James Achikwuesin matter, but also on the level issues that he's raised, his accusation that the Supreme Court sometimes acts unconstitutionally and in bad faith. Joining me right now is the Director of Legal, Frank Davis, who of course is on the New Patriotic Party's committee, Constitutional Legal Committee, joins us on the telephone line now. We'll be joined also by Abraham Amaliba, who is the Director of Legal for the New Patriotic Party. Mr. Davis, thanks for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you, Evans, and good evening to your cherished listeners and viewers. But let me correct you. You always do the Evans, and I correct you. You continue doing it. I'm not the Director of Legal Affairs of the NPP. That portfolio is held by Guy Nwako. I am the Chairman of the Constitutional and Legal Committee of the NPP. So get my designation right, please.
Davis,
Amaliba has long ceased to be the Director of Legal Services of the NDC. It is now a digital macro.
And I know
Amaliba is in charge of conflict
and I know
resolution.
both of you have this very interesting relationship. Thank you very much, Davis.
Yes.
Your reaction to what you just heard there from the former Supreme Court judge, especially on specifically to the James Achikwuesin matter.
With great and enormous respect. I said with great and enormous respect for Justice William Atukuba, great eminent jurist of our time, that on this score alone, I think he has misjudged, misconstrued, and his interpretation of what happened in the Achikwuesin case is skewed. I am with great respect. He is falling into the same piece of misunderstanding that most people are falling into, and it's quite unfortunate. I have such great respect for Atugu, but it's quite unfortunate that sometimes our retired justices try to wait and get involved in these matters. But let me say it for the opportune time that when we sued out the election petition in the High Court, it was for interpretation of Article 94(2)(a) of the 1992 Constitution, not interpretation per se. but that we were saying that by the strict dictates of Article 94(2)(a) of the Constitution, Chachikwesin was not eligible to hold himself out for election, when at the time of the close of nomination, he had not renounced his Canadian citizenship. Okay? The case revolved on Article 94(2)(a). We went for enforcement of that article. Now, the judge, in delivering his judgment, relied on a similar provision under Article 94(1)(a), which revolved the issue in the famous Isanato Rawlings case in the Supreme Court. But Isanato Rawlings was on 94(1)(a), as opposed to 94(2)(a) in the Chachikwesin case. So we realized that when the appeal was lodged in the Court of Appeal, when Chachikwesin took over, and the appeal was lodged in the Court of Appeal, one of the strengths of that appeal was that the judge had embarked on a journey of interpretation of the Constitution, 94(2)(a). Okay, and that when it comes to a strict interpretation of articles in the Constitution, only the Supreme Court which has that power. Right? In the end, he also said that 94(1)(a), even though akin to 94(2)(a), there has not been any definitive pronouncement by the Supreme Court on Article 94(2)(a). For that matter, the Court of Appeal should hold its hands and the matter be referred to the Supreme Court for interpretation. Seized with that, we decided, as lawyers for the plaintiff, that let's settle this matter once and for all. So we also invoked the original decision of the Supreme Court for an interpretation of Article 94(2)(a). The case in the Supreme Court was not about determining the merits of any case in the High Court. That is why I disagree with the people. If you are taking pains to read what we filed in the Supreme Court, I don't think you will make this pronouncement. The case in the Supreme Court revolved on the interpretation of Article 94(2)(a), which had not received any authoritative pronouncement from the Supreme Court. There's another case was on Article 94(1)(a). So the Supreme Court did just that. So this issue of res judicata does not apply. Res judicata does not apply. Because it was not on the strength of 94(1)(a). It was 94(2)(a). So the Supreme Court had every power to cause an interpretation. And that's exactly what they did.
Stay with me. Abraham Maliba is with me. Abraham, is that your understanding of what happened in the Supreme Court too?
I disagree, but I think he's corrected my position now. I'm director for conflict resolution. Nothing could be further from the truth. And I think that the learned jurist did justice to those issues that he raised, particularly the Chachikwesin case. The matter that went to the Cape Coast High Court was about Article 94(2)(a). I agree with him. At that court, I, then lawyer for...
Hello, Abraham. I may have just lost him there on the line. Abraham Maliba? Okay. Do you have Frank Davis on? Oh, unfortunately, I lost both the gentlemen. Hello, Abraham? I lost you. Yes, briefly. You're back now. Yes, you're making your point, Abraham.
So I was saying that Article 94(2)(a) was actually what they sent to court. And at that point, I raised the issue before the High Court that this borders on constitutional interpretation, so it should be referred to the Supreme Court. He, speaking to you now, said there was no need for interpretation. So the judge determined the matter at the High Court. And we all saw how the judge determined the matter. This Atukba is saying that while the matter was determined at the High Court, the Supreme Court shouldn't have entertained the same Article 94(2) that was sent to the High Court. And that is where Justice Atukba is right by saying that the matter was res judicata because it was already determined. Now, In this same matter, Article 94(2)(a), after we raised the issue at the High Court and it was shut down that it should be sent to the Supreme Court for interpretation, at the Court of Appeal, we still raised the issue that this is a matter that should be sent to the Supreme Court for interpretation. It was shut down. We went to the Supreme Court itself. The Supreme Court shut us down. So we were shocked and surprised that the plaintiffs, led by Frank Davis, will now file a fresh writ calling for an interpretation of the same matters he had opposed from the High Court through to the Court of Appeal and even at the same Supreme Court. Indeed, you remember there was a certain 3-2 decision in which two justices said that, yes, there was a matter for interpretation, but we lost by 3-2. After that, he then went to the Supreme Court and filed a writ for interpretation. Now, you can invoke the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court for interpretation by filing a writ as they did, or by referral as we were doing long ago from the High Court. So Justice Atuga is right by saying that the matter was already determined, and so the Supreme Court couldn't have, as it were, determined the matter again.
But the specifics of what Frank Davis says is it boils on what the Supreme Court was interpreted to the constitutional provision.
Say it again.
I mean, there's a constitutional provision that needed to be interpreted, and the Supreme Court's jurisdiction is very clear.
But was it not the same interpretation we are calling for? Aren't you following what I'm saying? There was this same interpretation issue that I raised, followed by Justin Kwabra, followed by Tachikata. We raised this. Now, when the matter was before the Supreme Court per his writ, we filed a motion saying the Supreme Court has no jurisdiction to hear a high court, a parliamentary petition. What they told us was that they were not going to determine that, and that they will address it in their final ruling. As we speak, that has not been addressed in the final ruling. So we are not saying that the Supreme Court has no jurisdiction to interpret the Constitution. What we are saying is that this matter was already determined, and if the Supreme Court was just doing an interpretation, then it didn't need to go into determining the matter. It would just interpret and refer the matter to the appropriate court to deal with the matter.
I mean, Frank, considering that this is coming from Justice Atuguba, and considering his analysis of the matter, he is very, very clear that what the Supreme Court did, that the Apex Court had then now was actually trying to say that it had a concurrent jurisdiction of a parliamentary election petition with the High Court, which was alien, he says, to the 1992 Constitution.
Evans, with great respect to you too, with very great respect to you too, you are a seasoned journalist, but you are not a trained lawyer. So don't stray too much into what Atuguba said, because you wouldn't understand what he said. With great respect to you.
Well, except that I'm just quoting what he said.
Let me correct what. Please, Evans. These are legal matters.
Yeah, but it's a question I'm asking. I mean, based on what he had said.
With his reasoning, but don't say his analysis shows that the Supreme Court did otherwise.
No, but his point is simple, that according to him, this is a High Court. There's a preserve of the High Court when we are dealing with the parliamentary procedure, and that the Supreme Court swayed into that area.
We did not go to the Supreme Court to determine a parliamentary election petition. The legion of cases that Mr. Tachikata raised, respected lawyer, the legion of cases that he raised, if Atuguba would take pains to read those cases again, you will see the stark difference between what we took to the Supreme Court and what they were canvassing. You see, most often than not, when these things happen, let us all read what the judges said in their judgment. We went to the Supreme Court for only one matter, and it's a true and proper interpretation of Article 94(2)(a), and that when does it kick in? When a person is supposed to be eligible for parliamentary elections at the close of nominations. The Supreme Court did not go into any other matter. And I'm saying, I was not the judge in the High Court. I take a matter to court, a judgment is delivered, you appealed. Now the judge referred and took comfort in Article 94(1)(a). And his reasoning was that the language in Article 94(1)(a) is the same as in 94(2)(a), which is the case anyway. 94(1)(a) and 94(2)(a) bear the same language. And that was what was determined in the Zanoto 94(1)(a). Now, what Amaliba, Justin Pavra, and later on Leonard Senior Kachikata did was that they were saying that because Article 94(2)(a) had not received any authoritative pronouncement from the Supreme Court, and that it was Article 94(1)(a) that had received interpretation, the High Court judge, had constituted himself into a Supreme Court and determined the provisions of the Constitution or the articles in the Constitution. That was one of their main plans of appeal in the Court of Appeal. The reason why the Court of Appeal did not make a referral to the Supreme Court was for basically different issues. I think you read the rulings of the Court of Appeal in those matters. He wasn't coming to court, you should read. Now, when Tachikata brought the matter to the Supreme Court, the decision was 3-2. Okay, now we said as plaintiffs, in order to put this matter to rest, why don't we then invoke the original decision of the Supreme Court to properly interpret 94(2)(a), which is exactly what we did. What did the Supreme Court do wrong? What did the Supreme Court do wrong by interpreting 94(2)(a), which has not received any pronouncement from the Supreme Court?
Well,
I think we should rather be praised and we should be commended for calling for that interpretation. So far as I'm concerned, that is the only true pronouncement that has been made. No other court has come with any other decision. So let us wait. Maybe subsequently something else may arise. But that is what the court has interpreted in 94(2)(a). So I don't see how it could be scandalous. I don't see how that to praise that. I don't see the basis for res judicata. It's got nothing to do with res judicata. Nothing.
Abraham, part of this case is criminal. And what's the update on that?
Well, before I get to that, if the Supreme Court is interpreting a parliamentary provision such as this, a matter which has to do with parliamentary petition, then the Supreme Court shouldn't have gone ahead and declare that James Kwesi is not eligible to contest the elections at the time he did. The Supreme Court should have just simply interpreted the Constitution. But when the Supreme Court goes on to say that the MP or James Kwesi is not eligible at the time, then it means that the Supreme Court is engaged in determining a parliamentary petition, which is the High Court.
Abraham is wrong.
Now, the criminal aspect is ongoing. Because we went on vacation, the hearings were not ongoing, but we've resumed, and we are back in court this October. There will be a last opportunity for the lawyers for the accused person to cross-examine their first witness, and that is what will happen at the next trial.
Abraham Amaliba, thank you very much. Frank Davis also. What's your view on this matter? Both matters, really, and because of time, we didn't quite explore the first issue that Mr. Atuguba had raised, a former justice on the Supreme Court, who had tonight raised serious questions about the James Kwesi's case, but also the Daniel Domelevo case, a former Auditor General. I want to hear from you, 055-11-11997.
Ever visited a shop, picked a whole basket of provisions, toiletries, and very essential things you need, battled a long queue to finally pay, only to be told you can't pay to a merchant number. The way that thing they pay, but with Vodafone Cash, there is no problem. Now on Vodafone Cash, you can pay all merchants on all networks. Easy peasy. Aye straight. Aye direct. Aye sharp. From your Vodafone Cash wallet to any merchant number on other networks. So whether you are buying provisions or fuel, medication or food, whatever the service or need, just pay conveniently from Vodafone Cash to any merchant number. Simply dial *110# to make payment to merchants on other networks today.
Vodafone. Ready? Let's go. We all go bring some savannah.
Everyone is dancing, everyone is singing, because everyone is painting with Savannah. Savannah paints from Azar are affordable enough for everybody to fulfill their paint needs. Paint more, pay less. Savannah paint, we all go paint some.
We all go paint some savannah. We all go paint some.
Hello.
Hey girl, how did the photo shoot go?
I could barely smile due to bad stomach discomfort.
Aww.
The photographer was frustrated and even asked if the money was too small to smile. I almost ruined my photo shoot, but Gastron saved the day.
Wow.
And I started smiling from ear to ear.
Stomach discomfort ruins your day. Don't let it. Take Gastrone, your most effective antacid for the relief of symptoms of peptic ulcer, heartburn, gaseous discomfort, flatulence and indigestion. Available in tablets and suspension. Gastrone is manufactured and distributed by Ernest Chemists Limited. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Live on Joy 99.7 FM, this is News Night. In the next 60 minutes, henceforth, no new road contracts will be awarded. Position of Cocoa Board chair as he admits the industry regulator isn't in good standing, insisting the decision is part of a comprehensive strategy to revive the fortunes of the company.
And then I will say, henceforth, no more road contracts. That's the way you should look at it. But you cannot abrogate a contract which is about 80-85% complete.
We have details as the company rejects demands for farmers to directly sell their cocoa beans to buyers. Also tonight, a dire warning from Guta that so many businesses are on the verge of collapse and will collapse if government does not immediately review what they call obnoxious taxes in the 2024 budget.
Ghanaian businesses are again saddled with numerous taxes. So if you add up all these problems, it means that Ghanaian businesses are on the verge of folding up and being collapsed.
We have details as they outline some of the taxes they want removed immediately.
1% COVID levy to be removed. We also talk about the special import levy of 2% that has been imposed on us since the previous administration and all that. We also are talking about the VAT.
Also tonight's GA Traditional Council insists shops must remain closed for at least 24 hours ahead of the final funeral rites of the late Queen Mother of the GA state, Nadede Omaedro III.
The funeral will proceed full steam on Saturday, 28th October 2023. All commercial activities within Greater Accra will be suspended.
We have details as the council insists there's no curfew in place today. We have business.
And banks fear the proposed Eurobond debt restructuring could impact badly on the operations.
Also tonight, the plea of a grieving mother for an explanation about circumstances leading to the tragic death of a 19-year-old second-year law student at the Wim Polyclinic in Cape Coast.
Who even instructed that medicine? Because we're not there for injection. Only for them to declare him dead.
We also have our stories of hope tonight, and then we'll take you to Liberia.
The results of the 10th October 2023 polls show that the ticket of the Congress for Democratic Change (CDC) obtained the highest number of votes. Political campaign for the 14th November runoff election.
So Liberia's presidential polls heads to a runoff after leading candidates failed to secure a 50+1 vote, even though incumbent George Weah secured 43.83% of the votes cast. That and more in tonight's edition of Newsnight. Please do well to join us with your thoughts and your comments is via WhatsApp 055-1111-997. Also on all our social media platforms. We're also live on myjoyonline.com. I am Emefa Apawu.
And my name is Mensah. We start tonight with the troubles of Cocoa Board MF, and Cocoa Board will not award new road contracts henceforth. That's according to board chairman of Cocoa Board, Peter McMenu, who revealed it's part of a comprehensive strategy to revive the fortunes of the cocoa regulator. Now, this comes on the heels of claims by former Minister for Food, Agriculture and Cocoa Affairs, Dr. Owusu Akoto, that for 6 years he struggled, but to no avail, to restructure the finances of Cocoa Board, which he says had gone completely out of hand. He spoke exclusively to my colleague Elton Brobe.
That we've had with the farmers to increase their productivity in terms of yields and so on is very clear.
We cannot obviously, we can't talk about agriculture without bringing in one of the key pillars in terms of our export, cocoa. The finance minister last week in an interview said that they've set up a desk together with Bank of Ghana to supervise the finances of Cocoa Board, and use the word to ensure discipline. Cocoa boards need to be back on a sound footing. How does it come to you?
Well, I really want to make a comment on what he said, but I don't understand. The Minister of Finance, Minister for Food and Agriculture, Minister for Trade and Industry, and the governor are on the board. It's only the governor himself who goes to the board directly. All these three portfolios, deputy ministers are there reporting to them. So what is new? He's there on the board. So what is new? Setting up a desk? I mean, the kind of things that he's talking about, discipline and so on, you'll be amazed at the amount of time I spent trying to straighten Cocoa Board and all of that. You know, in terms of their expenditures and all of that, which has gone totally out of hand. You know, and to the detriment of the farmer, because if Cocoa Board is not spending money wisely and is going on about, oh, we are supplying subsidized input to the farmers and so on, and they are not getting value for money, then ultimately you cannot pay the farmers more than what you can pay. So ultimately the farmers will have to pay for these inefficiencies and so on. And it really distracts from the financial benefits of growing cocoa.
Well, we'll get to hear from the board chairman shortly. We'll also explore the state of Ghana Cocoa Board today. My colleague Kofi J will join us shortly with the standing of Cocoa Board as it stands now. But board chair of Cocoa Board, Peter McMahon, has been explaining that some factors accounted for the current state of Cocoa Board. Take a listen.
Well, Cocoa Board is not in good standing, but there's been a turnaround strategy, which for me, and looking at the current global prices, is yielding results, and it's going to yield much better results. You have to look at your question from historical perspective of where Cocoa Board is coming from as far as the global pricing is concerned. Because since 2017, global prices of cocoa has gone down, has plummeted. And since April this year, it started rising. So it gives some kind of light at the end of the tunnel. And productivity enhancement programs instituted by the current administration has also increased the yield. So Cocoa Board is turning around.
Well, you know, one of the biggest line items for Cocoa Board itself, and for many communities in cocoa growing areas, is what is called cocoa roads. Yes, we're learning from the board chair now that those contracts will no longer happen?
Some people are questioning, but some people are happy, and we have to strike a balance. For me, Cocoa Board must focus on its core business. Nevertheless, the roles that they have initiated have been appreciated by the cocoa farmers themselves. Okay? But if you leave it to me, I will say focus on your core business. Let the Ministry of Roads and Transport also do their roads. But it hasn't happened that way. It doesn't mean that the roads are not necessary for haulage and transportation of cocoa. Cocoa are in the hinterland and they need to be transported to Tema, Takoradi, and Kumasi. So much as I appreciate that Cocoa Board must focus on their core business, nevertheless, it's something that has started over the years. Some contracts are in the pipeline, some of them 80-85% completed. Cocoa contract, roads contract. So we have to finish up with that. And then I will say, henceforth, no more road contracts. That's the way you should look at it. But you cannot abrogate a contract which is about 80-85% complete. Okay? But new ones are not going to come on.
That is your position, or is a suggestion?
Well, that is the position, the current position.
All right.
That's the current position.
And the details he articulates there, it's part of our agreement, the government's agreement with the IMF to restructure Cocoa Board and deal with the losses that they've been leaking over the years. And my colleague with the research desk, Kofi J, joins us in the studio with more as we look at the numbers that tell the Cocoa Board story. Kofi, what do we know from these numbers?
Well, Evans, let's start with Cocoa Board's fiscal position. So the last time Cocoa Board made a profit was 2015. And since then, they have made losses for 6 consecutive years. That's from 2016 to 2021. Cocoa Board's annual loss has moved from less than 200 million Ghana cedis in 2016 to now 2.4 billion cedis in 2021. Between 2012 and 2021, Evans, Cocoa Board has made losses amounting to 5.1 billion cedis. Profits, however, in the same period was just around 481 million cedis, Evans.
What about production? What's it looking like?
So we've been looking at the numbers, and in just the ended season, Ghana lost around 150 metric tons of cocoa beans to smuggling and then galamsey. And Ivory Coast remains top grower of cocoa with 2.2 million tons a year. Ghana is, however, lagging behind second with about 75,000 tons. And what we are learning is that currently Ghana is facing tough competition from Ecuador and Brazil, both of which are working hard to improve their production per year.
Well, so thank you very much, Kofi, for giving us the details of these figures. I know you'll be back with other figures for other stories, but we've been also hearing from the president of the Concerned Cocoa Farmers Association, Anabuate Mbonso. For him, because of the figures and the current state of the Cocoa Board, he's calling for a dissolution. According to him, the time is right for cocoa farmers to sell their produce directly to the buyers, since Cocoa Board has failed in its duties in the interest of the Ghanaian cocoa farmer.
What is the finance minister coming to do? At the end of the day, we gave him the whole country just to take care of it. And what happened? So, Cocoa Board itself is a collapsed institution that has collapsed already. We know it and we foresee it. We said it several times, but they never listen. At the end of the day, as a cocoa farmer, I can sell my cocoa directly to the buyer to make my money, rather than relying on the government. The government have nothing better to offer for the farmers. As I'm speaking to you, a lot of people, millions of people want to cut down their cocoa tree, want to shift from cocoa to a different crop, all because they've seen that they have been enslaved for so many years. What is Kenofurata coming to do? He was the finance minister, and what happened? The industry has collapsed. So they should allow with the cocoa farmers, it directly sell our cocoa produce to make our money. Because other countries are doing it. They sell their cocoa on their own. Why is it that, what interest is government so much interested in that he cannot even allow with the farmers to sell our produce than for him to sell it for us? Then it means he's getting more. We don't need Kenofurata, and even we don't even need the wine, edus, and other things. At the end of the day, they've caused a financial loss to the state, which they have to pay for.
And today, Emefa, we've been hearing from the Deputy Chief Executive Officer in charge of Finance and Administration of Cocoa Board, Ray Ankra, who says the calls are misplaced.
No, I don't. I don't actually. I don't know where this farmer is coming from, but I will encourage you to talk to as many farmers as possible. You know, whoever said it is entitled to his or her own opinion, but I can also bring you many farmers who are very happy with the work that Ghana Cocoa Board is doing in terms of producing seedlings, helping them, building roads in their area so that they can evacuate their fertilizers. I mean, these things will happen.
So you disagree? You disagree with the farmers when they say want to sell their produce directly to the buyers?
That is the structure of how Cocoa Board is organized, and I don't think I can speak to that right now. I don't think it would be in the best interest of cocoa farmers for that to happen, because look, one of the things we do as Cocoa Board is it is an integrated service. If you look at the pre-harvest side, if you look at the things that we are doing for our farmers, I mean, they have kept faith with the country. And I don't think that if there's a bit of a problem, and so farmers are saying that, oh, they want to be selling that is not the way to go. Okay. The way to go is to reform, which is what we are doing, to show faith with the farmers. We've just announced one of the biggest increase in producer price for our farmers. We've done all that. And this is an ample demonstration of the commitment of Ghana Cocoa Board to our dear farmers in this country.
You heard there the Deputy Chief Executive in charge of Finance and Administration of Cocoa Board, Ray Ankra, there speaking earlier on the Midday News. Well, we'll stay a while longer on issues relating to food and agriculture. But this evening we are hearing from the General Agricultural Workers Union, and for them they are predicting a massive food shortage in the coming months as several hectares of farms and livestock are swept away by floods in parts of the Volta region, Eastern region, Greater Accra, Savannah and the Bono regions.
Well, this is in spite of an assurance from the Agric Minister that the current situation is not a threat to our food security. The overflow of the Volta Lake and over 3 weeks spillage of the Akosombo and Bond dams have led to the loss of millions of investments. Now, Carl Awoyi is a peasant farmer at Sokwe in the South Tong district of the Volta region. He tells Joy News he has over 6 acres of farmlands currently affected.
I did 1 acre of carrot, which is only 1 month old, 1 acre of okra is also 6 weeks old. Cassava is just 3 months old. Cassava is 2 acres. I have half acre of maize, which have been submerged as well. I did 1 acre of granite, which also submerged. And also my piggery, I was able to relocate the pigs within 48 hours. I relocated them. But that one to their feed have been flooded, so I couldn't pick any of the feed in the stores. Also, I have a plantain plantation, also 1 acre.
If you quantify all of this personally for this season, how much in total are you losing?
In total, I am losing close to 20,000. That is the seed money. That is the money that I invested into it. Majority of our farmers are psychologically traumatized because your hope, everything is there. I mean, your hope, what you eat in the house, your electricity bill, any other bill that is associated to any other person, that is where we get our things from.
Well, that's Ewoyi there, a peasant farmer at Sokwe. Well, in the Bon, Akuse and Konsombo area, several hectares of rice farms and fish ponds running into millions of cedis have also been swept away. Well, Charles Nyaba is Executive Director of the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana.
We found that you go to some communities, the entire communities have been submerged. The rice farms, maize farms, numbering 5,000 hectares. Investment worth 36 million Ghana cedis, and then if they were to harvest those produce, we did a calculation, it would have brought revenue of 60,000 Ghana cedis, were all submerged by the flooding. Now, the same is some of the farmers who are into fish, tilapia, about 48 million Ghana cedis worth of tilapia cages have been taken away by the flooding. So this tells you the extent of the impact that it will have on us from now until next year. So it has really affected us massively. We are now just thinking of how we are going to recover from this effect.
Well, in Peru East, the rise in the Volta Lake has also flooded farmlands and displaced thousands. A fisherman has also not been able to engage in regular activities. He's been speaking to us.
I trade in fish. My husband is also a fisherman. For months, we haven't been able to go to the lake. We beg before we eat.
So that's a resident there in Pru, talking about the plight of fisher folks in that area as well. I'm sure you get the picture now. Well, those are examples of devastation caused by floods in farming communities across the country. We'll get to hear from the farmer groups on this shortly. Also, because we know earlier that the Minister for Food and Agriculture, Brian A. Champong, mentioned that he's directed that $40 million of the World Bank funded Food Systems Resilience Program be structured to restore farmers who've lost their farms due to the flooding. He also says the destruction of these farmlands will not trigger any food crisis in the country. Listen.
I have directed that they should restructure $40 million out of it to restore all the farmers in the Volta region along the Rivers Path and in the eastern region. All those farmers that suffered the devastation effect of the spillage of their farms.
How is this going to be done? How soon is this going to take place?
Whenever the river subsides, we will go in, identify the farmers, restore them by land development, giving them seeds, giving them fertilizers, giving them proper agronomic practices to restore them to where they were before the spillage. We need that food as part of our food stock, and we're going to do everything to ensure that farmers that have been affected by the spillage are restored back to the situation before the spillage.
Is this floods igniting any fear of a possible food crisis in the country? What is your immediate worry as a ministry?
The challenges that we are facing there will not in any way cause a food shortage or food security situation for us.
So that's the Agric Minister, Brian A. Champon there, insisting that there will be no food shortage. We've been hearing from GAU on this. They insist that there could be a looming food shortage. The MP for the area, also Pru, has also been raising concerns about a possible food shortage if nothing is really done about the situation. But it's a good time to get updates on the flooding situation. Yeah,
and you know that there have been calls for VRA to compensate affected individuals in the parts swept away by the floods following the spillage. Today we're learning there has been a commitment to restore these individuals to what they used to be, at least through some form of compensation, but that has to be done after thorough assessment of the level of damage. And the several houses and businesses, as you know, have been swept away, livelihoods lost. An estimated 38,000 people have now been misplaced. The Deputy Minister for Information, Fatimatu Abubakar, has been addressing the media on what government plans to do after all this. And my colleague James Aveji is in a studio with me. He just returned a couple of hours ago from a press conference. First, let's start with the VRA. They've been giving some updates on what they've been doing so far in terms of providing relief for the people. What more do we know?
Yes, Evan. So 3 key areas of the relief items is what they have been addressing. 1 is about how to get potable drinking water for the people. 2 is about creating access routes between Mepe and Bato. That they said they have been doing. And the 3rd is about providing some 40 mobile toilets for the people. The Deputy Chief in charge of services and engineering, engineer Edward Obinkenzo, has been addressing us, telling us what they are doing and the issue about, the 20 million Ghana cedis they have earlier allocated to fight the flood. He also says that they are ready to top up that 20 million Ghana cedi should the need arise.
We've given water. We've made sure there's enough water being supplied to these communities. As we speak today, Aveime water pump station, which was submerging water, at least we provided new pumping station to pump water to ensure water is restored to the community of Aveime. If you go to Mepe, at the Kizito, St. Kizito School, we've also set up a new purifying system. That is a borehole system with a purifying filtration system to give the community filtered water to drink. Today, because Transportation across the Mepe area is a bit difficult. We've constructed a new road from Mepe to Bato to allow access into Mepe. That road is about 5 kilometers. That one is also done.
And James, what about government's own commitment to the people?
Yes, Evans, that has been part of the larger conversation about beyond the relief item, how do we restore the livelihood of the affected persons? The Deputy Minister for Information, Matu Abubakar, says plans are in place to actually restore all of these livelihoods after the water has receded.
Trying to rehabilitate the affected communities. All the ministries with their district offices in the affected communities are doing assessments. The water levels have not completely dropped. And all the assessments and the required support should be based on the data and science on the ground. Because today, until the water levels go very down and you are able to assess the extent of damage to property and quantify what people have lost, you may just speculate. So we are faithful, we are keeping faith with the data that will be provided after the water levels are completely down and the proper assessments are made.
Let me take you to Mepe, which is one of the worst affected areas. My colleague Ivy Setoji is there for us tonight. Ivy, you've been there today. The relief items have been coming in. What's different tonight, especially in the areas where people are taking shelter? Hello, Ivy. Okay, we'll try and get Ivy's attention, and then she's also been speaking. There's been some reactions on the ground to what we heard yesterday from the sanitation minister, who was accusing fingers at the people there themselves that they refuse to move after they've been sensitized and asked to do so, and that part of this tragedy is because of their own refusal to move. It's been received there with quite some criticism.
Mixed reactions and some unhappy about that particular comment made by the sanitation minister. Ivy has been interacting with some of the residents. I've also been hearing from the MP for the area yesterday, South Tong MP, Komna Mensah, speaking about that. A lot of residents have also been reacting. Chiefs and elders in the Volta region and parts affected have also been speaking about the sanitation minister's comment. But let's try and get Ivy Setoji's attention. There's been a lot of activity in the area. Ivy, if you can hear us, Evans has been asking about the relief items and what exactly is happening where you've been today.
So I have been to Mensah, Bato, and I've also been to Central Tong, that is about recruitment, where the displaced people are still staying with the shelters provided for them. What some of them are asking is that the food, so the drinks and the relief items coming, some of them are not able to get it. Some of them are also asking for mattresses. They don't have enough mattresses. We visited some places in the night, last night, around 9:30 thereabouts, and we realized that some people were sleeping on the bare floor, including children. So these are the items they are asking government to do, to provide for them and organizations. Today, the education minister visited the centers, various safe havens to see how the school children are doing, and then he promised that they are doing their best to make sure that school children are comfortable and in regards to education. A few minutes ago, Ibrahim Mahama of Engineers and Planners have donated 4 trucks loads of relief items to the people. That's for districts, North Tong, South Tong, Central Tong, Keta, and also Angoga district, as well as Ketu South. So these are the things that have been happening today.
Okay, and what about the reactions we are getting out to the sanitation minister's pronouncements yesterday?
If I can hear you correctly, residents in this town, especially in the side, are not happy about the comments by the Minister for Sanitation. They are saying that there was no proper engagement. There have not been enough education, public education for the people, and it just came to them as a surprise. Especially those at the hinterlands, those are by the riverside. Nothing of that sort was done, and it came to them as a surprise. So instead of them trying their best to make sure that things are provided, special relief items. They empathize with them. What she said was out of the point. She did not do well by saying what she said. So some of them are asking her to apologize to the people of Mensah and then the Three-Tongue district so that they can have that relief, peace of mind, because they are not really happy about her statement.
Thank you very much, Ivy. So listening to News Night is on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, the Ghana Health Service is tonight investigating the passing of Nana Obeng, a 19-year-old second-year law student at the University of Ghana. At the Wayne Polyclinic in Cape Coast, Nana Obeng's mother, Nellie Mills, said she brought her asthmatic son to the hospital to administer a nebulizer treatment to prevent an imminent asthmatic attack. However, she alleged that the medical staff administered an injection instead, which tragically led to her son's death shortly after. The Central Health Directorate says Nellie will have to wait for her answers after a thorough investigation and an autopsy scheduled to last for the next 2 weeks. And we'll bring you that tragic story pretty shortly here on News Night. I'll be taking your views and comments also on the stories that we've been bringing you so far here on News Night. And George Duffy will also join me pretty shortly with the latest from the world of business. But let me share with you a few of your thoughts on the stories we've heard so far. And let's look at the subject of the former Chief Justice, Justice Atuguba's speech today about the James Achikwesen trial. He's described the outcome of that trial as scandalous. This one has no name. Kofi Protocol says the MPP must know that their excesses alone don't anger Ghanaians, but their spirited defense of same is what makes us more angry, he says. And another one from Seydou Nkonongo says, Martin Luther King once said, an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. If the Supreme Court of the land can engage in unconstitutionality, then where else can we seek justice as citizens? That's Kofi's thoughts there. And also a final one from Sonny in Tema says, a man who is on the farm knows how production has been affected. He's saying there would be hunger, and a minister who is far in Accra is disputing it. A few of your thoughts on the stories we brought you so far. We'll bring you the full story of Nellie Mills and the death of her son right now.
I don't think anybody feels the pain I'm going through.
Nellie Mills is grieving. She's unable to pick herself up after witnessing her son's untimely death at the Ewing Polyclinic in Cape Coast. She tells me that her heart is in flames and nothing will douse it until she gets satisfactory answers from health authorities.
He said, oh, ma, it's as if my asthma was to. And I said, oh, but there's no news. Because if your symptoms wants to come, you've been using Ventolin all this while, and you have your Ventolin pump around here, so just use it. And he said that if he used to use nebulizer, that would have been faster than the Ventolin.
Her 19-year-old son, now being a second-year law student at the University of Ghana, perished at the Ewing Polyclinic while seeking to use a nebulizer to control his asthma. Nellie said although she wanted to stay with her son, she rather chose to rush to the pharmacy to buy a prescribed medicine. But upon her return, Nana Obeng's condition had deteriorated.
When we got there, only for me to know that the medicine was 7 cities. I thought that 7 cities, and they don't have it at the facility there. When we got there, I met my boy vomiting, and I said, what is happening? Then he got up, he became like a tent. So when I was shouting, they came to hold me that I should go out. Then my boy shouted that they've injected him. So I was asking, what injection? What injection? Nana is not here for injection. Who gave him the injection?
Nellie sits on the favorite sofa her son used to occupy in the living room. She begs authorities to set her heart at ease by telling her why her son died.
I went inside only to go and meet my boy lying there lifeless. So I started shouting, hey, my boy is dead, oh, my boy is dead, oh. I asked the cause of the death of my boy because I needed to know. And they said they don't deal with that. So we should go and put our complaints on a paper.
Authorities at the Wim Polyclinic told Joy News that the Central Regional Health Directorate had ordered them not to speak to the media. Meanwhile, the Central Regional Health Director, Dr. Marion Oko-Owusu, says a committee has been formed to investigate the cause of Nana Obeng's death. An autopsy has also been done and results will be ready in 2 weeks. But until then, Nellie Mills will continue to stay in her son's favorite seat, hoping the outcome of the investigations will heal her aching heart.
Rather sad situation there, and that's a story that we are following up on, and we'll bring you details as and when the autopsy report and the investigations are concluded. You're still listening to Newsnight here on Joy 99.7 FM. Still to come, the GA Traditional Council insists shops must remain closed for at least 24 hours ahead of the final funeral rites of the late Queen Mother of the GA States, Nadede Omaidru III.
Yala Bano.
The funeral will proceed full steam on Saturday, 28th October 2023. All commercial activities within Greater Accra will be suspended.
Well, we have details as the council announces more restrictions, including the ban on noise making in the region until the funeral is concluded, but insists there is no curfew in place today. We have business. George, what do we have?
Well, Emefa, coming up, banks fear the proposed Eurobond debt restructuring could impact badly on their operations. Now, some players in the aviation industry pushes for a reduction in airport charges and taxes to aid tourism and passenger travels. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, Syntax Tanks and Pepsodent, Charcoal and Herbal.
Hey, Ma, the way you're always getting alerts these days, I won't be surprised to hear that you have gotten a Momo for Business account by my next visitor.
Oh, I'm already on Momo for Business, oh.
Since when?
Since. Now, it's easy to apply for a merchant SIM. All you need is a registered MTN number, your business certificate, your Ghana card, and you are good to go.
Sir,
you think you are the only one who knows what's up, eh? Look, I just dialed *5051#, selected register, and the region I was requesting the SIM from, and waited for my SMS with my reference number. You can even go online at momomerchantapplication.mtn.com.gh and complete the details for an even better experience.
Hey, Grandma Momo.
Sign up for Momo for Business the easy and simple way. Just visit momomerchantapplication.mtn.com.gh or dial *5051# and follow the prompts and be on your way to owning a Momo business account today for free.
MTN. Hooray! The Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited's Back to School promotion is here with us once again. From the 4th of September to the 31st of October 2023, Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited is giving a generous 10% to 15% discount on all school items like textbooks, pens, pencils, erasers, exercise books, and so much more across all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Takoradi, Winneba, and Cape Coast. Parents, teachers, and students, please hurry while stock lasts. For more information, call us on 0302 764 101 or 0302 764 209 or email info@kingdomgh.com. You can also visit our website www.kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books, where quality and affordability are both assured. Terms and conditions apply.
For over 10 years, Old Mutual has been touching lives in Ghana. Whether you're a trader or a student, an entrepreneur or an employer, or nearing your retirement, we have the right financial solutions tailored just for you. Contact Old Mutual on 030-7000-600 or visit our website on oldmutual.com.gh to learn more. And let's realize your financial freedom together. 10 years of greatness, here for a lifetime. Old Mutual, do great things every day.
No matter your water needs, Syntex has it all. Syntex tank was first to introduce double layer tank, and now you can have as many layers as you want. Syntex tank was first to introduce white inner layer tanks in Ghana, and now introduces the customer specs order, which will let you order any color and size you want. Syntex tanks gives you the biggest warranty of 7 years, which no other tank gives you. So whatever your water consumption, size of project or demand, choose Syntex tank. Syntex tank, stress-free. Syntex tank, reliable. Syntex tank, maximum guarantee. Call 0244 335 168, Kumasi 0505 555 666, or visit syntexgh.com. Syntex tank, a year strong, a year tough.
Media Sambisanda mo. Eti emrati no. Mumu hwan pa na tumi hwe na mo bodompe mo mana yakono. Eye kwabna. Na mumu hwan so na tumi tasmale me ma yene nyina de. Eye kojo. Enu kro. Kobre tumi hwe na bodompe mo sense o yi super accident eba. Ayede yan ban ne do braye. Ko si echi na mo ho ban na sem mana hoode ne. Sa ani na kojo so yi super accident chako. Na no ne de e ma wo se wo ye kregen fita. Na watimi asiri bedwo ma na feel you. Ey kojo. Yeah. Pepsodent Heba and a Pepsodent Charcoal. Afedie. You're gonna natural.
FTIJ Jadion Katuyatu.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, commercial banks fear the proposed Eurobond debt restructuring could impact badly on their operations. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has announced up to 40% cut on the Eurobond principal and about 5% on the coupons. Now, this follows the domestic direction program, which hit the banks badly, resulting in some heavy losses for last year. John Ewa is chief executive of the Ghana Association of Banks.
Haircut in the region that the minister put out in that interview is deep. As the governor said, I am also sure that the banks may have taken a significant portion of their own assessment of what the potential haircut was going to be into their as to whether in the bank's assessment that haircut that they have taken is anywhere closer to what the minister proposed is a question I cannot answer. I'm sure it is the government asked at the table at the moment, and as negotiations go on to become clearer where whatever haircut they agree is going to be.
You think that the impact would not be that grave?
Of course, 30 to 40% on principal is very steep, except to say that the size of the investment is not to the level that we had in the domestic debt exchange.
Was the chief executive of the Ghana Association of Banks. Now, the country manager for Air France, KLM, Mensah, is making a strong case for government to reduce airport charges to aid tourism and passenger travels. The country's manager for Air France, KLM's call is coming at a time when passenger arrivals have crossed the pre-pandemic levels. But speaking to Joy Business, Mr. Ojik says that the country could get more if these charges are reviewed.
Say impact, it's positively impact. We are definitely back at full strength. We see passengers numbers that are very, very strong, not just out of Ghana, but as a worldwide Air France KLM group. When I tell you that we have really bounced back and are back at or close to 2019 pre-pandemic levels, and Ghana is no exception in that. When I say that, it means that Ghana is doing equally well as compared to the peers across the world.
I remember in the past we had some airlines complain about the cost of operating out of Kotoka International Airport. Has the situation improved, and how has the uptick in passenger numbers also impacted on that, or is still a major challenge for carriers like yours?
This is a very valid point, and it remains. It's not a secret. Again, this is public information that Ghana Accra Airport is amongst the most expensive in the world. Your cabinet is aware, your government is aware, your deputy minister is aware. There are reasons for it, but that's the fact. If we want to stimulate demand and tourism and business to Ghana, we'll critically have to review these airport charges. Also for our airline, but this will benefit the industry as such.
Country Manager for Air France KLM, Mes Van Ojek, now the Director General of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, that is Charles Kreku, is calling on the civil aviation authorities within African sub-region to adopt modern air traffic safety following the rapid growth of air transport. The authority, in collaboration with the International Civil Aviation Organization, is holding a 4-day workshop on code for secondary surveillance. The engineer Charles Kreku urged the players within the aviation industries to work together to develop safety standards that meet these objectives.
The role of aviation authorities, air traffic management agencies, and industry stakeholders is clear. We must ensure reliable and secure assignment of SSR Mode S addresses and IICOs. We must work together to develop and implement standards, procedures, and technologies that meet these objectives. Let us remember that aviation is not just about technology and regulations. It is also about people. It is about the people and about the passengers who trust us to get them safely to their destinations.
Charles Kreku is the Director General of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. The acting commissioner of the National Insurance Commission, Michael Ando, has stated that the commission is resolved to increase insurance coverage to up to 60% by 2028. He has been speaking at the 2023 International Conference on Inclusive Insurance co-hosted by the National Insurance Commission and its local partners.
In the next 5 years, we are expecting to take this to about 60%. And this is the percentage of the population that is covered by insurance. We sometimes get obsessed with insurance penetration, and I understand that is how much money insurance is making. This is how many people is insurance protecting. Our current phase of inclusive insurance, we are looking at micro and small enterprises, the carpenters, the masons, the kiosk keepers. Of course, they form the majority of our population. They are the biggest employer in the system. They do run risks. It's just that we haven't addressed those risks. So that's exactly what we are doing now. We are building the capacities of the insurance companies to design product for those people.
Lando is the acting commissioner of the National Insurance Commission on Accra Bureau, has launched the club Lager Cheers to Charles. It's first of its kind for the company. The initiative, according to the company, is a give back to the community as part of its social responsibility. Our brand's manager, Emuelala Odate, said that the company is poised to deepen its relationship with its customers. He's been speaking at the launch of this program at the North Kaneshi here in Accra.
We can all attest to the challenges that we've been facing as Ghanaians. But then one thing that keeps us going is the support system of our friends and our chalice. And so we launched this campaign to celebrate that support system and to give our friends and our chalice the opportunity to help their families and their friends by winning 10,000 Ghana cedis for them. And so the whole overview of this initiative is to celebrate friendship and also give an opportunity to support that unwavering relationships and connections that we have with our friends and family.
And that is Emanuela Odamite. She is the brand's manager for Accra Brewery. And that's all for talk about names. Interesting discussion in the studio. And you know, it makes me remember the former Supreme Court judge. Is it Doche and Doche, you know, and there's another thing. Doche, sorry. There's another development happening in the studio right now. And so back to you, Emefa and Evans.
Thank you very much.
And you're still live here on Newsnight. It's on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, tonight, the Ghana Traditional Council insists shops must close for at least 24 hours ahead of the final funeral rites of the late Queen Mother of the Ghana State, Nadede Oma Edru III. The council initially said shops must be closed from the 26th October through to 31st October. However, that has been revised.
Additionally, there's a partial ban on noise making in the region. That's just two of a number of restrictions that have been imposed in the region. Chief of Protocol and Communications at the Office of the Ga Manche, Paka Alote, say they will not compromise on these restrictions.
The funeral will proceed full steam and there will be no hindrances. We hereby announce that on Saturday, 28th October 2023, all commercial activities within Greater Accra will be suspended as a mark of solemn respect and final farewell to our beloved Queen. During this period of laying our great Queen to rest, we advise parents to ensure the safety of their children, and it is crucial in this respect to protect them from any harm, as some individuals may take advantage of the situation. We urge everyone to remain vigilant and safeguard the well-being of our younger ones during this sensitive time. The Motor Traffic Department of the Ghana Police will assist in managing traffic during the funeral period.
Well, Chairperson of the Protocol Committee overseeing the funeral rites, Ayikwe Utu, also says the rites will start on Wednesday with market women who will be in procession and present foodstuff to the Gamanche.
On Wednesday, 25th October, market women in a procession will present foodstuffs and other items to the Traditional Council from 1 p.m. There will be cultural display, music and dance, and storytelling. On Thursday, 26 October 2023, the cultural display, music and dance, and storytelling with Asafo Achebe and Asafo Anyeme parading will continue. On Friday, the 27th of October 2023, we shall keep a vigil. This will start in the morning with Asafo companies displaying amidst the firing of musketry. Then from 6 p.m., the clergy will be here for a short service for the repose of the soul of Gamanye. There will also be viewing. The Asafo Achebe and Asafo Anyeme will continue cultural display, music and dance, and storytelling throughout the night. On Saturday, the 28th October 2023, which is the burial day, there will be an interdenominational burial service, which will start from 9 a.m. to 11. After the service, there will be a traditional burial rites, which will involve the Asafo Achebe, Asafo Anyeme companies parading the coffin through the principal streets of Accra under the direction of the Municipal Security Council and the MMTD. As we are all aware, burial of such royals are private matters, so that will come on at the end of the day.
And that's a rich Ga culture on display. Let's speak to the Chief of Protocol and Communications at the Office of the Gamanche, Parker Alote, joins us right now. Hello, Mr. Alote. Thanks for your time here on Newsnight.
Welcome, my brother.
Great. There's talk of curfew. When does that curfew take effect?
Well, there has been some apprehension about curfews throughout the week, but we have said that this is not so. However, whenever any royalty passes away, there are rites that are performed at night on the day of the burial. And it is not in anybody's interest to be in the street and to come and encounter the burial party. And therefore, or at least on that Saturday, we expect people to stay home with their families, enjoy the comfort of their families and children and grandchildren, as we did during the COVID period. And I think many people rediscovered their love during the COVID period by staying with their families. So maybe this gives us another opportunity to rediscover our love and our family life.
And this is Saturday. Is this very Saturday? This very Saturday.
Evening.
Saturday evening. Specific time, when does that begin? When do you expect people to be home?
Well, we think it is sensible to be home before dark.
So what, 6 p.m. or 7?
6 onwards, yes.
So for clarity, there isn't a curfew tonight, as people have speculated.
There's no curfew tonight. No.
Okay. And you suggest almost that this is almost discretionary, that people it's just the right thing to do to stay at home. You don't want to be at night. It is not compulsory, is it?
Well, when you walk in the streets, especially as a stranger or as a tourist of a country, you don't know what is going on. You may go into unnecessary problems. So I think we are advising that at a time like that, when rights are performed at night and it is not in your interest to come and encounter the parties, it's better to stay at home.
This is just out of curiosity, as we learn about the rich Ga culture. If you step out another time and you see what's happening, what's the implication? What's the consequence of that? What will happen to you?
Well, there are different stories about what had happened to people in the past, and I'm not going to speculate as to what will happen this time, but it's been said by many elders, for example, that some people who defied this kind of ban and encountered burial parties never lived beyond a year.
I see. Which specific areas will be affected by this? Because, Ga is a pretty huge geographic territory.
Are you referring to the restrictions?
Yes, the restrictions, areas where you expect people to stay home.
Every area under the jurisdiction of the Ga Traditional Council, which would include Gamashi and the satellite communities of the various, the 7 quarters, going to the various Ga rural areas.
So, fair to say, this will encompass the Accra metropolitan area broadly, Adabraka, Bukom, areas such as that. Would that, for example, include, say, areas like East Legon, Airport?
Yes, and even beyond, because we are looking at places to Amasamang and Torres Kaswa and so on, and various MMCs and the mayor will also be promoting announcements which would clearly delineate the areas and remind people of the need to observe these restrictions.
And you also expect shops to be closed, and I believe shops in the central business district should also be closed from the what's your expectations?
Within the greater, the Ga Traditional Council areas, because we are exempting as usual, of course, pharmacies, clinics, and other emergency services, people selling small food on tables and so on. We don't usually include these in the restrictions.
And this starts when? Tomorrow morning?
No, this is for Saturday.
All of this for Saturday. Close all the shops as well. All of it for Saturday. Yeah. And let's talk about security. Because in times like this, with everybody else asking questions, you stand a risk of people taking advantage of this to do all manner of things. What's the arrangement for this?
Well, first of all, we are working in conjunction with the Regional Security Council, the REDSEC, and they will have people deployed. The MPTD will also manage traffic in all areas to be used, and generally we expect that the personnel of the Regional Security Council who will be deployed in the various areas will also enhance security.
Mr. Aloto, you are done.
Oh, Wabeshida.
Thank you very much. That's Pakalo today talking to us about the rich Ga culture. And I know this will raise a few eyebrows, but as they say, when you're in Ga,
you do what the Gas do.
You do what the Gas do.
And of course.
But I'm curious to hear from you out there, by the way. I'm curious to hear from you. 05511119997. You have to close your shops.
So please, you have to close early today. Oh.
No, it says Saturday.
Okay.
It says Saturday.
But you have to prepare.
It says Saturday.
So schools will go to school tomorrow.
The man says Saturday.
I'm just asking.
Schools go to school. The children go to school on Saturday.
So no Saturday classes. Okay.
Your kids go to school.
So
Saturday?
no work on Saturday. So we won't come to work on Saturday.
I
asking you.
I think he says there are exceptions.
Exceptions.
Yeah.
So we will come.
Yeah, you have to cover it.
Your team is working this weekend, so you work. Okay.
But I would love to hear from you wherever you are tonight. Let's hear from you.
But just before we go, it's time for our stories of hope. And imagine a barber who does his work with dexterity with one hand. That's not all. He's also an athlete and a key member of Ghana's Paralympic team training for the Games in 2024. The story is one that evokes hope. Hope that regardless of one's condition, he or she can achieve anything with determination. Here's our stories of hope told by Hannah Odame.
To commit suicide because sometimes when you go out, people will be pointing hands on you.
That was his best escape from the dejection, depression, and anxiety he felt because he had only one functioning hand. Amos Ahiagba narrates how and when that changed.
When I was 6 years old, I went to climb a tree, and when I landed, I couldn't land well, so I hit. But the doctors confirmed that they are late, so they can't do anything about it unless they cut it.
He forever thanks his teacher, who discovered his athletic talent through a compulsory physical education session.
He would sack everyone to the field, and I joined some groups to run, and he was shocked I became first. So since that day, he never jokes with me.
A national coach, Ibrahim Aminu Suleiman, discovered Amos's talent at the Elwak Stadium in Accra.
I came to display my talent here, and a coach told me and he said he wanted to train me so that I can become somebody in future.
At dawn every weekday, Amos sharpens his talent by training. Then after, he works as a barber, a skill he learned by himself. Barbering, he says, helped him raise enough money to pay for his senior high school fees.
When it's come for football, I'm inside. When it's come for athletics, I'm inside. And I'm also a school barber. So they used to call me Blessing because they think I can do all things by myself. I don't depend on anyone. Some of the students are DB. So if I see that you are DB, I'll charge you much. If I see you are hustle like me, I'll know how to.
So how much were you charging DB and how much were you charging?
The DB is something I took 20 cedi from them.
Amos recalled that he used to be discouraged by disparaging comments and reactions made towards him, but added those emotions no longer trigger him to give up.
Sometimes people will just point hands on you and say, oh, by this time you went to store and they cut his son. And sometimes when you are walking and you want to call somebody for a direction, the person might think that you are come to ask for help of money or something. So every day I encourage myself that God will help me, and always I study Isimbo, and I want to also become a superstar like them. For people to also learn from my story, that no matter what the situation, when you help yourself, God is also going to help you through.
The 100 and 200 track field runner has another wish.
I wish if I get money, I could do artificial to support myself.
For Joinis, I am Hannah Odame.
And that's our show for tonight. It's time for the geeks.
And Pep is here.
Yeah.
Hello,
Good
Pep.
evening. Hi,
Hey, you have a pet name for her already.
You went away for 3 weeks.
Just
3
3
weeks
weeks.
is a long time.
You couldn't wait.
No.
Hey.
I
Madam.
Hello,
Oh, my
Pep.
people call me Pep. Hi.
I call you Pep. I thought I wasn't people.
No, you're not. You're special.
Yeah.
Hey.
I went away for 3 weeks. Okay. What's up, Pep?
Yes, this evening we are going to continue our discussion on reporting cybercrime. I think last week where we got to, we left people in limbo, so we need to continue and make sure that they are clear on how to report issues that come up when they face any such things on cyber
And we are
security.
also experiencing
The victims of that,
and
yeah.
all that. So
Yeah.
I think we'll get to address it as well.
Okay. Stay can stay.